Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our weekly investor forum. I'm your host, Rachel Curlew, AVP of Investment Banking. We're happy to be back to bring you another investor update. Joining me today is Justin Scott, Investment Banking Analyst, and my co-host for today. Today we're discussing Lumber Depot Limited and Trans Jamaica Highway Limited, and we're excited to share these insights with you. If you like the content, don't forget to hit like and share this video. If this is your first time here, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to receive all notifications. We upload content like this once per week. Also, if you want to embark on your first investment journey, you should take that first step with the Mayberry. Follow us on social media to learn more about how you can get started today. So let's get into it. I'll start with Lumber Depot, then I'll hand over to Justin after. Okay, so a quick recap. Lumber is a full-service hardware store located in Papine. They have been operating from that location for over 20 years now, and during that time, they have established a market-leading position in the communities they serve. They have also been able to secure annual revenues of about $1.5 billion from operating from that one location. So that's quite impressive. The stock is trading today at $2.70, but at a low PE of almost 11.5 times relative to its trailing earnings of $164 million and the junior market PE of about 15 times. The stock does have a 52-week high of $2.95, which would correspond to a PE of just about 13 times. So let's review their financial performance for the 9 months period ended January 2024 to see why the stock is trading below the market. We are seeing here that Lumber's revenue remained relatively stable at $1 billion, but their cost of sales declined by 2%, which resulted in an 11% improvement in their gross profits for the period to total $247 million. We're also seeing here that expenses increased 6% for the period, but we also note that other income improved by 53%. The company also saw over 100% improvement in net finance costs due to a major increase in finance income. This resulted in the company booking an 18% increase in net profits to total $126 million relative to $106 million booked the prior year. Examining their balance sheet, total asset base now stands at $767 million, up 16% from the $662 million reported last year. Their liabilities, however, showed an 8% decline to $104 million. And finally, their shareholders' equity stands at $662 million, a 21% improvement on the $548 million reported last year. Examining the quarterly profits graph on the next slide, we are also seeing that profits for this quarter are higher than profits booked for the same quarter last year. This is important to note because there's a lot of competition in the market space coupled with a general slowdown in the construction industry. So despite these challenging economic conditions, the company has still managed to grow their quarterly profits relative to last year and importantly, maintain their year-to-date revenues of $1 billion, which is quite good. Looking at the next slide, year-to-date, the stock has been trading somewhere between $2.30 and $2.80 and actually peaked at $2.83. Today, we're seeing where the stock is trading at $2.70, which, as I mentioned earlier, corresponds to a PE of about 11.5 times. This is below the junior market average PE of about 15 to 16 times, which would imply the stock is slightly undervalued. We do believe, though, that as the stock market continues to strengthen and PEs trend back up, adjusting the stock price to about a 17 times PE, where we estimate the junior market will go, this would reflect a stock price of about $3.90. So all things being equal, that's almost a 40% price appreciation in the short to medium term. But outside of that, the company is a solid junior market company with no leverage and about 250 mil cash on their balance sheet. This places them in a great position to take advantages of opportunities as they arise. They have plenty of cash plus the capacity to take on debt, which places them at an advantage. So once Lumber can capitalize on some of these opportunities this year, I don't see why the stock price can't increase at least 40% within the next 12 months. What are your thoughts on this one, Justin?
All right, thank you for that, Rachel. Yeah, I definitely do agree with some of the things you said earlier. I like the concept of Lumber Depot for where it is and where it's at right now. Doing $1.1 billion in sales per year. Well, sorry, this is just for the 9 months, but doing 1.1 billion at such a small location that they've been for over 20 years now, they've been really extracting the value out of their location and for the customer base. But I do believe that they've hit essentially a glass ceiling for where they're at right now, and they do need to expand. They do need to find a new location to go, to set up, to disrupt, to really take advantage of the opportunities that are present to them. So I know this side that their core customer base for where they're at right now has really kind of teetered under the economic conditions right now. So I do believe they should be looking further to expand and branch out and open another location to get there. They've built up a war chest of over $250 million in cash. So I don't know if it's a matter of they're eyeing a proper location and opportunity for them to really set up in, or something further from that. I'm not sure. Maybe it's another acquisition of another place. Perhaps that could be the idea behind them. But as you've rightfully said, they have negligible amounts of finance costs right now. So whether it's going to be straight cash acquisition or setting up, or they want to go out on a limb and raise some debt to set up a new location, then I do believe they're in a great position to set up and really expand from where they are right now. I'd want to see that before I personally would buy into lumber, but I do love lumber as a concept and where they can be going. So yeah.
Thanks. And they actually just acquired their Papine location sometime last year. So I think they're taking a step in the right direction. So again, let's see how they utilize that 250 mil cash we are seeing on the balance sheet. So let's now move on to Trans Jamaica Highway Limited. Justin, over to you.
All right, guys, so let's get right into it. Trans-Jamaica Highway, for those who don't know, is essentially the business of the operations of the toll system from Kingston through to Maypen, Kingston through to Portmore, and now Kingston all the way through to Williamsfield, Mandeville, right? So it's just the operations of the whole toll settings and giving people the ability to invest into it. Ever since the government divested its ownership of the Trans-Jamaica Highway a few years ago, it's been sitting around its IPO price a good time. However, at the start of this year, it's really began on a tear, moving from a start of about $2.70 all the way up to a current price of about $3.27. So let's get into why Trans-Jamaica has been so active this year. So, for the year's performance at the end of December 2023, Trans-Jamaica has increased 16% from $65 million to $75 million. They've had an additional increase in other gains from about $1.3 million. Operating expenses are down 44% from $39 million to $22 million. This is primarily because they acquired the JIO service, which was the operations of the toll service itself. Admin expenses have gone up from $1.7 million to $8.4 million. Finance costs are pretty stable, and the net profit after tax has increased from a $4.2 million loss to an additional $32.1 million over the course of 1 year. So this is pretty significant. This all came from the acquisition of JIO, as I said earlier, and is expected to go up even further when they extend the highway. So if you're taking a look at their balance sheet, it's increased only 1% from $288 million to $290 million. Liabilities are down 3% from 248 to 241. And shareholders' equity, as a result of that increase in net profit, is up 22% from $39 to $48 million. Current key statistics right now, Transjam is trading at $3.27 at a 11 times PE. So even though it's increased so much, so it's really just the market's price catching up to the increase in earnings. Trading EPS is about 30 cents per share. The total trailing earnings is about $3.7 million. As I said, they had a significant loss beforehand that they're catching up on. With a 52-week high of $3.73. Congrats to all who would have gotten out at that price, especially if you were holding from IPO times and really just looking forward to the increase that we're seeing right now. From a 52-week low of $1.36, Transjam is really, really picking up these days. And February 2024 volumes in units has been about 82 million units. So it's really increasing the amount of trading activity. The price action is really enticing a whole lot of people. I believe a lot of this is from the retail space and maybe even some large or significantly larger investors taking opportunity to take profits after they've had it for so long and repositioning into some other things. Some people are sitting down waiting around. Some people are, just constantly in and out of the stock. So there's a whole lot of activity taking place in TransJam. Let's take a look at the profits. As I would have said a bit earlier, TransJam would have been having a muted effect over the last couple of years, as you can see from the first quarter 2021 all the way up until the third quarter of 2022 and that big loss that they experienced in Q4 with that acquisition. But ever since then, it's just been constantly increasing, adding to the net profits, doing about $6 million per quarter consistently ever since the second quarter in 2023. And now they're really holding that space. And so we can expect, because the Williamsfield Highway, which opened in about Q3 2024, as you can see right there, they only had about 6.4 million. They opened that new leg of the highway in Q3, and they have not been charging for tolls. They've been experiencing a toll fee period, which is expected to extend up until July 1st, 2024. We're not entirely sure about that. They kind of gave us a deadline beforehand and extended it even further to July 1st. But, so let's use that tentatively as that exit period. This means we're heading into the last quarter of discounted earnings from TJH before we start to factor in that additional leg. Now, while we haven't gotten an indicative figure of the new toll pricings, we can expect with the amount of Jamaicans that travel and that travel between that period on such a regular basis is so significant that we should be expecting an increase from their typical 20 million per quarter in revenues up to maybe, I don't want to give a figure right now, but we can expect a significant increase in that their revenues that are getting there. And once that is all said and done, considering the current government's modus operandi of extensive capital infrastructure investments, we know that TJH is not just done right here. We can expect them to perhaps further it right from Williamsfield in Mandeville over into St. Elizabeth and perhaps, go right around the island, all else being equal and all factors going towards these investments to continue, right? So TransJam has a whole lot going on for it. But with that said, as I said earlier, the stock price, as you can see on the current graph, has increased pretty significantly. It's up over 20% currently and was all the way up to about 34% just a few days ago at $3.70 per share at the high just a few weeks back. So a couple of these people who were in IPO would have taken profits. Selling pressure has been adding up, pushing down the stock price. So for those of you who are looking for aggressive capital gains, I would advise a little bit of caution, watching out, trying to eye price action movement, find the resistance, find the base, and time your entries accordingly. But for those of you looking for dividends, then the stock price going down is only even better for you. The last point I'll make is that TransJam has a pretty attractive dividend coming up quite shortly at about 2.88% in yield. So I know TransJam has a lot going great for it with additional increases in net profits. We can only expect greater dividends. So for those of you who are serious dividend investors, TransJam should probably be in your portfolio, and you might want to get on that pretty quickly because the ex-date is coming up on April 2nd. Yeah, so I guess that's my view on TransJam right now. For those of you serious dividend investors, you're going to want to get this one. People looking for cap gains, there's more to come, but just, keep an eye on the pricing. Rachel, any thoughts on TransJam?
Thanks for that, Justin. It's evident that the company has gained some efficiencies from the acquisition of their subsidiary, Jamaican infrastructure operator. As a result, profits have been increasing steadily over the last 4 quarters, as you mentioned. Revenues have also been consistently increasing, which is good. So I want to see how this plays out over the next 4 quarters. As we anticipate the new revenue streams coming on board in July. So let's see how that flows to the bottom line and the government infrastructure program for 2024. So I want to watch how this one plays out for the next 4 quarters. As you mentioned as well, it's a great dividend yielding stock, 2.88% yield year to date and 13%, I believe, last year. So if investors are searching for a reliable dividend income source, TransJam is a good pick for now. And that's it for today's discussion. I'd like to thank our viewers for tuning in today. Your support is always appreciated. I would also like to thank my co-host, panelist Justin, for contributing to today's discussion. If you're curious about updates on our virtual investor forum and updates, then find us on social media. We share our live stream dates and upcoming guests on our official social media pages. Give us a follow and stay on top of all things forum related. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mayberry Investments Limited, and click the bell to receive all notifications. Keep safe, and remember, wise investors, slow and steady, win the race. Thank you.